Today, we're going to journey to the very peak of the Gita's path of devotion. Now, this isn't just another step along the way. We're talking about the final, most profound stage. This is where the goal becomes nothing less than total, ultimate union with the divine. So, what does it actually take to get there? Let's dive in. So, what is this ultimate goal we're even talking about? Well, it's the realization of what's called Brahman. Now, this isn't God in a way we can easily picture. Think of Brahman as the fundamental reality of everything. It's formless, it's timeless, and it's completely beyond what our senses or even our sharpest logic can ever hope to grasp. It's the very fabric of existence itself. And right away, you see the central problem, don't you? It's a huge paradox. If Brahman is beyond all our perception and all our thought, how on earth can anyone possibly get to know it? This is the fundamental challenge we're going to unpack.
And that brings us to the final stage of Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. And you might find this surprising, but this ultimate stage isn't really about emotion or rituals. It's about one thing: knowledge. And I'm not talking about just intellectual facts, but a deep, life-altering understanding of reality.
The objective here is crystal clear: to merge with the divine. But the Gita is super specific about how this happens. It's not something you can achieve just by wishing or praying. It happens by truly knowing the nature of God. In this final stage, knowledge is the one key that unlocks the door to that ultimate unity.
Okay, so to get this knowledge, we have to understand a really crucial distinction. The Gita presents God's nature in two parts. First, you have Brahman, the singular underlying reality. And then there's everything else, the whole universe we see and interact with. The world of names and forms. Now, while it all feels very real to us, it's described as an illusion, a kind of projection that covers up the ultimate truth. So you can see the real work for the spiritual seeker, right? It's all about learning how to see past this incredibly captivating illusion, to actually perceive the unchanging reality that's hiding underneath it all. Just think about your life. Right now, we are completely swimming in a sea of names and forms. The chair you're sitting on, the screen you're looking at, even your own body. It's all part of that world. And while they're real to our senses, they're also the very things that distract us from that formless, nameless truth of Brahman.
The scriptures have this absolutely brilliant metaphor to help us get our heads around this. Imagine you're in a movie theater, and you're just completely absorbed in the film that's playing. You're totally caught up in the characters, the plot, the drama, the illusion. And when you're that lost in it, you completely forget about the plain white screen that's been there the whole time. That screen is the constant foundation that the entire movie is projected onto. In this analogy, the world of names and forms is the movie, and Brahman is the screen. It's the substratum, the constant reality that makes the whole show possible.
Now, as you can imagine, trying to see the screen while the movie is playing is incredibly hard. This is exactly why this path is, it's not for a spiritual beginner. It demands a very specific and highly developed set of personal qualifications. And these qualifications really boil down to three main areas. First, you need a deep foundational discipline over yourself. Second, you need a radical shift in your perception. And third, you need an unwavering commitment to the path of study.
Let's start with foundational discipline. This means the seeker has already achieved total mastery over their senses and their mind. They're not being yanked around by cravings or distractions anymore. And why is that so critical? Because if you want to perceive a reality as subtle as Brahman, your instrument of perception, your mind, has to be perfectly calm and clear, free from all the static of worldly desires. Next up is the perceptual shift. And this is a really refined skill. It's the ability to look at the world and constantly tell the difference between what's temporary, the names and forms, and what's eternal, that reality underneath. This isn't about rejecting the world. It's a constant, active practice of training your mind to see the screen even when the movie is at its most exciting part. And finally, the path of study. Now, this is not a passive thing. The seeker has to have a burning, all-consuming desire to know God. They need the humility to learn from a qualified teacher, but they also need a sharp, questioning intelligence to really absorb the teachings, not just accept them blindly. Then, that intellectual understanding gets transformed into direct experience through deep, deep meditation.
So, what does the life of a person who has actually reached this stage look like? I mean, how do they approach their day-to-day existence?
It's a life of just incredible focus. There's only one goal: to know God. Every single action, whether it's working or eating or resting, is completely oriented towards serving that single ultimate purpose. There are no distractions because everything gets integrated into the path. So the bulk of their time and effort gets poured into 3 activities that all work together. They study the scriptures to get the intellectual framework. That's the map. They seek guidance from qualified teachers to clear up any doubts and make sure they're on the right path. That's like having a guide who knows the terrain. And crucially, they meditate deeply on that knowledge, turning it from just a concept in their head into a doubtless lived reality. It's a cycle where each part makes the others strong.
So, after this intense, focused journey of discipline and study, what's the result? What's the payoff for finally seeing past the greatest delusion of all?
And this is where everything changes. The end result isn't a thought like, oh, I finally understand Brahman, as if it's some object separate from you. The realization is a complete dissolving of the observer and the observed. The only possible conclusion is the direct, unshakable experience, I am Brahman.
And that just sums it up so perfectly. The knower and the known merge into one. The individual consciousness recognizes that its true nature is, and actually always has been, that universal formless reality. The drop of water merges back into the ocean.
So here's the bottom line. The outcome of this profound realization, this final stage of devotion, is a life of pure, unshakable joy. We're not talking about the kind of happiness that depends on whether things are going your way. This is a deep, abiding joy that comes from simply resting in your own true nature.
And so, this ancient path leaves us with a very modern and a very personal question. It asks us to look at our own lives, at the stories we tell ourselves, at the forms and ideas we cling to, and ask ourselves, what illusions are standing between you and your reality?